You have a higher chance of getting canceled from going to Saudi Arabia for a tournament than being friends with Utami. Seriously? I have heard of the political question marks in regards to Saudi Arabia and the crown prince. Taking the Saudi bag is a risk. Saudi Arabia is not paying me. It's an opportunity through Shinova, which I like the game. So if Shinova is getting a tournament hosted there, I'm down to participate. However, I do recognize that, you know, there is some level of risk. I don't think I'm educated enough to understand the full risk. It's just at the moment I feel comfortable with, you know, I just want to play the game, you know what I'm saying? Guys, no one will kill you there. So from what I understand is that Saudi Arabia's government is investing heavily into esports as part of, I believe it's called like some Vision 30 or something like that, to diversify themselves from their reliance on oil. However, that doesn't excuse all of the other stuff that they've done. There was one case that I followed very closely involving a journalist. And that was fucking wild. And so, with that in mind, there's still this level of like hesitancy, right? And so, I do share similar concerns, but with that being said, I'm specifically looking at this through the lens of Shinova is a game that I think is really fun. If there's this opportunity here, I do want to get involved. I think it's unfortunate that, you know, it's involving a country with not the best reputation.
2 million years, Pog.
But I don't feel like I have a educated enough understanding of the things involved to really be any more concerned. However, I have heard that they've been investing heavily into esports. Esports has been in this very unfortunate decline, and it almost seems as if like I mean, they're investing in like $4 million tournament prize pools, getting like all the biggest esports organizations to come into the country. Like, there's a lot of cool people in the esports community, a lot of people that I respect. And so, in a way, I see this as like a positive thing. Does that excuse their past? Of course not, but I don't know. It's tough. There was a Saudi hosted tournament for League not too long ago, and there was a shit ton of controversy. Casters were getting shit on, players were getting shit on, everyone. Are there like articles and tweets that I can see about this? I feel like I need more context here. Should be fine. Most people hating, understandably, because they're sports washing their reputation to avoid people talking about their political stuff. But one, it's the games that they're taking the money, that are taking the money to help fund, and at that point, it's very helpful for esports, especially FGC, Faker 1. Fascinating. I mean, if you align with Saudi's ethics, take that bag. I'll be honest, I don't even know where Saudi is on the map. Actually, no. I remember I watched this Ryan Higa video where there was like this, he made this like skit. And I just remember it was like Saudi a rare beef or something like that. Because of like the Red Sea or something. And I also watched the Philip DeFranco show. And so that's the only reason why I know about like the journalist. The Illuminati is real. You're cooked. Can you point to the Red Sea on the map, though? No. All right, a video about the Saudi Arabia thing. Why I will not cover or watch the Esports World Cup by Travis Gafford. Wait, I know Travis.
The Esports World Cup is a big international esports event that is taking place in July of this year in Saudi Arabia. It's going to have esports titles from across the board, including League of Legends, and I actually expect to see major names that you are very familiar with, major teams from all of the different regions, competing in this event. I actually think it has the potential to have a prize pool even bigger than MSI or even Worlds, for all I know, just based off of how much money they've said they're going to put into the pool for all of the esports. And yet, after this video, you will probably not hear any more coverage of this event from me, other than perhaps a little bit of dispirited references to it on Hotline League. So why is this? Well, the Esports World Cup is actually backed by the Saudi Arabian government financially, and it is part of a huge effort by that government to make Saudi Arabia the capital of esports over the next.
Saudi Arabia is spending billions to become a global gaming hub some fans don't want to play, by the Associated Press.
5 years. And while I would normally be very excited, especially during a time of esports winter, to hear about money coming into the space, it's a little different here because a lot of people believe that this is an act of sports washing. And if you're not familiar with the term, it's this concept that a government will use high-profile sporting events to distract from less wonderful things that might be going on, including, for instance, human rights abuses. Now, I'm not going to go into every single one of, for instance, human rights abuses.
Saudi Arabia hears dozens of countries critique its human rights record at the UN in Geneva. Saudi Arabia was asked repeatedly to redefine terrorism in relation to cybercrime laws that allow criticism of the state to be prosecuted.
Now, I'm not going to go into every single one of these instances here, and there's actually a really great video that Sideshow did, which I will recommend, and we'll put it up on screen at this moment so you can go find it, that spends a lot of time digging into what Saudi Arabia is doing here and a lot of the issues that they have. But I do want to highlight one thing really quickly, one instance of this, which really resonates with me as a terrible situation. And that's the assassination of a Saudi dissident journalist who worked for the Washington Post. This was back in 2019.
I remember this.
He was murdered in the Saudi consulate in Turkey. And you can literally read a transcript of the whole torture and killing of this individual because, unbeknownst to them, Turkey had actually had the consulate bugged during the whole thing. And it is crazy that I'm talking about this on this channel about esports coverage, but I guess that's where we have gotten to. I want to be especially clear here that I am not making this video because of any kind of.
He looks like Nicolas Cage. That is fucked. Stop.
Or region of people, but entirely because I'm incredibly uncomfortable with esports deciding to partner with a government who has a terrible track record of human rights abuses. Now, inevitably with any kind of video like this, you will have people who either watch the video or in most cases I think don't watch the video and immediately go to Reddit or Twitter or the comments of this YouTube video and decry the abuses of the US or China or many other groups that are in some way connected to the sport. And to those people I say, you're right. You are correct that many governments all over the world do fucked up shit. They have in the past and they will again. What's more, I've even...
Same for the United States. All right? I'm just saying, dude. I'm a patriot, all right? I love the U.S., but I also know the U.S. did some fucked up shit, dude. All right? Still, I'm proud to be an American.
Attended DreamHack, which is
still
owned
does.
by
That's
ESL
true. Still
Basic
does.
Group, a company that was acquired by a group funded by the Saudi government back in 2022. And so to all of you, I profess now, yes, I am a hypocrite. But I'm not just a hypocrite on this issue. I believe in workers' rights, and yet I still shop on Amazon and stream on Twitch. I believe in protecting and preserving the environment, and yet I still use plastic straws, and I do not like predatory gaming systems, and yet I have spent money on TFT's gacha system to get little legends. During my grandparents' youth, they could go into the local grocery and they could buy a piece of fruit knowing that it probably came from a farm down the road and they were supporting their neighbor by doing so. Now if I buy a banana at my local Ralph's, I may be complicit in supporting the seizure of land from locals by a multinational corporation who will exploit the population of an impoverished people while polluting the planet to ship an out-of-season fruit to me so I can buy it at a steep discount. The world today is gray and complicated. So should I just fucking give up? For me, the answer is no. Instead, for me, it's all about finding my own line in the sand and doing my best not to cross it. Last week, I was offered the chance to anonymously work on an EWC project. And many of you know that, for instance, this video will not be sponsored, and none of the other videos on this channel have not been sponsored for quite some time as a result of Esports Winter. But I did not even ask for the rate for the project before politely turning my friend down. And that's not some big act of bravery. I'm not trying to fall on a sword here and brag about how just I am. It's simply because while I may attend the LCS on most weeks, it is not funded by the US government as a result of its desire to distract from things that it is doing across the world. And while if I had a sponsor, I'd be going to MSI and Chengdu, I do not believe that the entire point of that event is to get people to ignore what China is doing in the world. And when I attend DreamHack, it is 10 years after I originally attended DreamHack back in 2014 in Sweden, when it was a company that had existed for a very long time. And I do not believe that today those shows exist, as they are run in the US at least, for the purpose of making Saudi Arabia the capital of esports over the next 5 years. Much like the banana from my analogy, those things are tangentially connected to some pretty shady stuff, but they are not connected in the same way that the Esports World Cup is. And that is my line, and that is why I will not cross it. Now, setting aside my own personal decisions on those things are tangentially connected to some pretty shady stuff, but they are not connected in the same way that the Esports World Cup is. And that is my line, and that is why I will not cross it. Now, setting aside my own personal decisions on this topic, I do want to speak as a fan and voice of this industry for the past 13 years and say that I am incredibly disappointed and disheartened. I've heard many people suggest that this is just where we are as an industry, that in order to survive, we must do this. And I'm not sure I entirely believe that, but even if it is true, I have to ask, like, do we deserve to exist then? If the only way for us to continue to do all of this is to partner with totalitarian regimes with a history of human rights abuse, what are we even doing here? I mean, when I signed up for all of this, I thought it was just going to be about video game competitions, and now I'm making this video talking about assassinations and terrible governments and the decisions they're making. It's just not what I had in mind when I got into all of this a long time ago. Now, I've also heard that some organizations are justifying this by suggesting internally that they will be unable to sign top talent if they do not allow said talent to compete in these events. To which I say, hey, let the talent decide for themselves. That's their own decision, no matter how I feel about it. But just don't let them compete underneath your own brand. I mean, there's no reason to soil your organization's name by being associated with all of this, right? Especially if you aren't in agreement with it. Ultimately, I just feel like these teams want to take the money from this without having their employees feel guilt for being associated with it, and I don't think that you get to have both of those things. You have to either take the money and the guilt, or understand that you're not participating in this and you won't see the upside. You do not need to have your brand name associated with this event. Finally, I do want to talk about Riot Games here, because Riot Games is going to deploy a very reasonable PR strategy of just pretending that they are not involved in this, right? They're not partnered with these folks at all, and you won't see Riot, I think, associated.
Chat, just so we're on the same page. Travis is used to be, or I forgot, but they were like a very well-respected, or still is well-respected commentator for like League of Legends or some shit, right? Or am I dumb? Am I thinking of someone else? He's an esports journalist. Sure. He is respected, yes. Oh well, now I feel fake. I grabbed lunch with this dude like a long ass time ago.
Associated with this event and name or whatever, they're just going to tell you that they are letting teams compete in this of their own free will, and they are not choosing which teams are being sent or running a qualifier or anything along those lines. And that's all bullshit, by the way, because it's not too long ago that Bjergsen was not allowed to compete in a show match that Mr. Beast was running. All right. And now we're going to finally get our international third-party event when Saudi Arabia's government decides that they want to throw something like this. Like, it's so disingenuous. And for all of those of you that do not know, this is not something that this group can just decide to do. Riot actually requires that tournament organizers obtain a license from them, usually paid for. And so this is something that Riot has made the decision to allow. And I assume that they're getting a pretty financial upside from all of this. And maybe I am wrong, and they will come out and clarify that they've received no money from this. But they're not going to do that because I'm pretty confident they are. And they just don't want us to all know. They want to just pretend that they're not involved at all. Now, normally at the end of my videos, I let people know that I have links in the description where you can support me. And instead of doing that, I'm going to put a link to a place where you can donate to Amnesty International that supports the human rights of people all over the globe, including those in Saudi Arabia. And if you enjoyed this video or you feel moved by it, feel free to support there instead of supporting me. And I'll take all the proceeds from this video and donate it to Amnesty International, the small amount that Google AdSense is on these YouTube videos. So I understand that this will probably get me some people who will unsubscribe from the channel or whatever, but ultimately, I'm sorry, we're just not going to talk about this topic going forward, and I'm disappointed to see the people that are participating in it, and I just don't want to be associated with it.
Nah, that's respectful as fuck, dude. I don't understand how anyone could take a look at this video and think anything outside of this guy has balls. Someone with a real spine. Someone who's willing to not put his what's it called? Who's actually willing to put his actions behind his words. You know what I'm saying? That's dope as fuck. One of the things I should have mentioned in the video, I assume I'll see people rush in the comments to type this, keep the politics out of this. It's a frequent refrain. I don't always agree with that sentiment, but if you feel that way, then you and I are in agreement on this issue. If you want to keep politics out of esports, then you probably shouldn't want tournaments being put out by political groups and governments. That's a good point, though. All right. So, this has definitely opened my eyes a little bit more. All right. I've heard like the human rights issues in the country. The articles that they linked, I think, are interesting, although I haven't looked at them. I'm just going to take this word for it. So here's where I stand. Okay. 12 p.m., 2 hours into the stream. I still think this is interesting. I think this is worth talking about. I respect Travis a lot for doing this. He is going against the grain, right? What is the standard and what typically most people do, including me, what most people do, including me, are to operate within whatever their best interest is, okay? It's a very simple path. If it benefits you, you do it. You know what I'm saying? That's all it is. And at the end of the day, I feel like that is the solution here. If you feel like it benefits you, you do it, right? Oftentimes when you go against that grain, it typically isn't that. It's typically very rough for you. And one example of that is actually like me with Osu, right? It is in my best interest to play all of these farm maps and you know, rise up the ranks. They'll probably result in more viewerships, more donations, more subscriptions, etc., etc. It's not in my best interest to host all of these events and waste all my time and stress participating in all these things that, even though I'm passionate for, generates no revenue, right? It's not in my best interest to do that. But I still do it anyway because it's where I develop myself as a person, where I draw the line and what I want to do. Right? Which doesn't mean that I won't do the things that are in my best interest. It's just occasionally I do the things that I want to do. Occasionally I'll do the things that, you know, I have to do. You know what I'm saying? So the way that I see it is that it's a matter of interest. Okay. Now, here is my take on this. The Saudi Arabia, I do believe, is trying to sports wash, using esports as a method of sports washing. I don't think that's actually gonna work. I see companies do this all the time of trying to employ capital in an area in order to do something, but they just simply don't understand the people that they involve themselves with. For example, I'm into credit cards a lot, okay? And there was a credit card that appeared called the Built MasterCard that allows you to get 1% back on rent. And they partnered with Wells Fargo in order to make this a reality, right? I don't remember the specifics of the relationship, but getting cash back on paying rent is unheard of. It's absolutely unheard of. However, Wells Fargo has like this sort of controversy with being unsecure as a bank and security issues and things like that. But to get 1% back on rent, that's a huge upside and definitely in my interest that I'm willing to take. However, we also have to see it from their front. They feel like that they're going to get people who are actually going to spend money on this credit card that are going to hold a balance so that they can make money. Fast forward to today, that card has thousands and thousands and thousands of users, okay? And the vast majority of those people use it only for rent, pay it off in full, do not pay a single dime of interest, and is literally costing Wells Fargo's millions and millions and millions of dollars every single year. It is hilarious. And I'm going to milk this card every single month as long as I possibly can because it is in my best interest to do so. So when I see this, obviously there is bias. Okay, I'm very biased because I get to have opportunities to travel and compete in events, and obviously I like doing that, right? And so there's an interest there for me. So the question is, Saudi Arabia is trying to sports wash this. I don't think this is actually going to work because I feel like the people are smarter than that. I mean, I'm having this conversation with my chat right now. Like, I feel like the people are smart enough to see past this shit. So let's take advantage of them, take their fucking money, run with it, build an empire, and hopefully gain a lot more influence so that we can actually make a change. Because obviously, for me as myself in my current stance, yeah, I'm able to turn this into a career where I'm able to have influence. But imagine years down the road that I'm able to build a company where we can literally move the needle in actual, causes that I care about. I mean, we've seen Mr. Beast already with like saying, okay, it's probably a joke, but let's be real. He said that if they lowered the age to run for president, he would actually like throw in for the ticket or something like that. Let's be real. When he actually does become like 35 years old and is legally able to run for president, right? He has a really good chance of doing so because most likely by that time he will have a lot more influence, be a lot bigger, a much bigger creator if he's able to maintain his reputation and still and basically be himself of being philanthropic and doing being the positive change in the world for people. I feel like everyone, all the kids who watch his videos now will be old enough to actually vote. He might actually have a good chance to do something. And when you're the president of the US, you can do some pretty cool shit, right? And so that's where I think of. That's what I think of, right? I can't actually do anything. And I'm only shooting myself in the foot by going against my own interests. But if I do go in my best interests and take advantage of opportunities, especially opportunities where I believe that corporations who are shilling out money are widely misinformed because they're relying on people being dumb as fuck and just turning a blind eye to all this information. In my opinion, I'd take their money. I'd take their fucking money and laugh at them when they realize, holy fuck, all these people still think that their country, at least their decisions that they made, are bad. On the other hand, I also want to specifically point this at the government, right? Because I know that there's a lot of very heated discussions that involve countries, but I feel like a lot of people confuse the leadership with their people. I have a lot of friends in Russia, for example, right? I'll have a lot of really close friends in Russia. Does that mean that I support a lot of the decisions that the Russian government does? Hell no, right? And so for the reason why I value this trip to Saudi Arabia so much, not only is it like a way for me to understand, or not only is it a way for me to participate in an event, in a game that I care about, right? But it'll allow me to develop myself and get to know the people who live in Saudi Arabia, to actually get a first-hand account from the people themselves. And so I see that as a very personally interested thing for me to partake in. However, at the end of the day, I've shown my cards. I'll do whatever is in my best interest in most cases. And one of the best ways that you guys can make a say in what I do is to make it so that it is no longer in my best interest. If you guys specifically feel that me traveling to Saudi Arabia is fucked up, that is supporting this government, and that it's the wrong thing, then you guys have a literal say in that. If you stop supporting this channel, if you stop watching this channel, if you stop supporting the projects that I do, all of a sudden, there's a conflict of interest in me attending this. So, yeah. For me, in my opinion, I don't think it's that big of a deal, right? Because I'm going to take this money, I'm going to build a fucking empire, and one day I hope to have real influence that I can actually make a change in the scene. And so that's what I'm hoping to do. However, I'm a dumb fuck, all right? I don't know everything. This is just my own opinion. At the end of the day, I serve you guys. And if you guys have a different opinion, you guys can actually voice that up and make a change and make me change my own decision. And if you guys have watched this channel for a while, you guys know that I do care about my community. I do care about the opinion of my community. I like to gauge my community a lot before I do things. That's why I'm talking about this right now, right? So, yeah. Btmc casually giving the best speech ever? Not really, dude. All this really says is that I don't really have a spine. That if it's in my best interest, I'm going to take the money. And it just gives more context behind that. I heavily respect Travis, right? Because what he's doing right now is basically playing his cards, right? He's taking a stand. He's saying this is fucked up and encouraging other people not to do the same, right? And I think information above all is the most important. It's why I'm talking about this right now. Technically speaking, it's probably a smarter idea for me to just take the trip, not say anything, make a video, not even say Saudi Arabia, but just hope that not mentioning any of the controversial stuff would not affect my reputation. But no, I believe that information is the most important thing. Having conversations is extremely important. And what Travis is doing with this video is spreading awareness, okay? It's creating conversations like these to happen, and that's amazing. It takes a lot of balls to do that. You know what I'm saying? So this is fucking dope. So yeah, it is not in his best interest to make this video. It is not, right? Esports World Cup likely will be the most relevant thing to esports for the next like foreseeable couple of months, right? It is in his best interest as a journalist. I'm assuming he's a journalist, as people told me. It is in his best interest as a journalist to cover this. If he is not covering this, he is literally missing out on the biggest topic of esports over the next couple of months. That is not in his best interest. Or not doing that is not in his best interest. And to have the balls to take a stance like that is phenomenal. I respect that a lot. And I think the most important thing is that it allows people like me to then have a more educated decision on what I want to do regarding this topic as well. I'm not sure if this Stranova thing is regarding the Esports World Cup. I don't know. All I heard is that it's a Stranova tournament. So, yeah. The League of Legends finals flopped pretty bad, though. Considering T1 was playing, only 1 million viewers is extremely low. What do I say, dude? What did I say? The people are smarter than this, dude. Milk their fucking money. Milk them. Take it all. World's finals had 6 million. Okay, I don't know the actual context of the numbers and shit. All right, I don't know. What What the fuck? Mod started a poll? What the? Listen, I find it so funny. I find it so funny. We joke in this chat in the past of like any Oilers, any Saudi Arabian oil princes in the chat, any juicers to gift subs and shit and subathons. And now it's actually happening. Holy fuck. What the hell? The Oilers are real. No way. See, League of Legends, I remember you played with your friends a few years back. Did you touch the game after that? So, this is a great topic to employ the same logic. I felt it was in my best interest to get into League of Legends because I was roommates with Boxbox, right? And I wanted to have a closer relationship with Boxbox, so that meant getting into League of Legends. I was interested in that. So, I then polled my chat. Yo, chat. Is it worth getting into League? And my chat heavily voted no. That's now a conflict of interest. And so I never got into League. I played like 1 or 2 games. That's it. Chat, the people, you guys have the power. Right? That's it. So yeah. Every League player will never tell you to play League. Your chat has a conflict of interest of you playing any game other than Osu. Occasionally. Occasionally.